The rescue team rushed to save an elephant from poachers. His reaction broke everyone's hearts. The African wilderness stretched out in a symphony of golden light, the sun casting long shadows across the savannah as it dipped toward the horizon. Tall grasses swayed gently in the warm breeze, their tips brushing against the weathered trunks of ancient acacia trees. In this vast, untamed land, a herd of elephants moved with quiet dignity, their massive forms a testament to nature's grandeur. Among them was a mature bull elephant, perhaps in his 30s, his tusks gleaming ivory against his rugged grey skin. He led the herd with a steady grace, his trunk occasionally curling to pluck leaves from low branches, sharing them with the younger calves trailing behind. The air was filled with the soft rumble of their footsteps and the occasional trumpet of a calf at play, a sound that spoke of peace and belonging in this wild haven. This corner of the savannah was a sanctuary, a place where the rhythm of life pulsed strong and unbroken. The bull, with his wise, deep-set eyes, seemed to embody that rhythm, his presence a pillar for the herd. The younger elephants followed his lead, their small trunks mimicking his movements, while the matriarch, a venerable female in her 50s, kept watch with a mother's vigilance. The landscape around them was alive. Birds flitted overhead, their songs weaving through the air, while a distant stream glittered under the fading light. It was a scene of harmony, a moment frozen in time, where the wild felt eternal, untouched by the chaos of the world beyond. Yet beneath this serene surface, subtle signs whispered of a looming threat. The bull paused, his ears flaring as he lifted his trunk, sniffing the air. A faint metallic tang lingered, carried on the breeze, perhaps the distant hum of an engine or the scent of human presence. His herd continued grazing, unaware, but his instincts prickled with unease. Scattered near the herd's path were faint tracks, not of wildlife, but of boots pressed into the soft earth. The savannah, for all its beauty, was not immune to the shadow of humanity's greed. Poachers had been sighted in these parts, their silent incursions a growing menace to the elephants' lives. As dusk settled, the bull's vigilance grew. He trumpeted softly, rallying the herd closer, his massive body shifting to shield the younger ones. The acacia trees cast long, eerie shadows, and the birds' songs faded into an uneasy silence. The stream's gentle flow masked the faint crack of a twig, a sound too deliberate to be natural. The elephant's ears twitched, his eyes scanning the horizon, sensing the danger that lurked just out of sight. This peaceful evening was about to shatter, the calm before a storm that would test the bull's strength and the herd's unity. Unbeknownst to them, a rescue team miles away was about to receive a call that would set them on a collision course with fate. Their mission, to save this noble creature from the poacher's cruel intent. The savannah held its breath, the golden light giving way to the encroaching darkness. The bull stood tall, his tusks a silent defiance against the unseen threat. The herd's rumbles softened, their trust in him absolute, but the air grew heavy with anticipation. Somewhere in the distance, the poachers were closing in, their weapons ready, their hearts cold to the life they sought to destroy. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation, one that would leave scars and stir souls. A story of survival that would soon unfold under the watchful eyes of the African night. The silence shattered with the sharp crack of gunfire, a sound that tore through the savannah like a thunderbolt. The poachers emerged from the shadows, their figures cloaked in dark clothing, rifles glinting under the fading light. The bull elephant reared back, his trumpets erupting in a deafening roar as he turned to face the threat. The herd scattered in panic, calves squealing as they stumbled over the uneven ground, the matriarch bellowing orders to keep them safe. Bullets whizzed past, one striking the bull's left flank, a searing pain that made him stagger. Blood trickled down his leg, staining the earth, but his instinct drove him to protect his herd, his massive body shielding the young ones as he charged toward the attackers. The poachers were relentless, their movements swift and coordinated. Two fired again, aiming for the bull's tusks, their greed blinding them to the life they threatened. The bull swung his trunk, knocking one poacher to the ground, but another shot grazed his shoulder, forcing him to falter. The herd's cries filled the air, a chaotic symphony of fear and rage, as the matriarch tried to rally them away from the danger. The bull's strength waned, his injured leg buckling under his weight, yet he refused to retreat. His eyes, once calm and wise, now burned with defiance, a warrior facing an enemy he couldn't outrun. The poachers closed in, their voices cold as they shouted orders, their intent clear, to claim his tusks and leave him for dead. The bull's struggle grew desperate. He trumpeted again, a sound that echoed across the savannah, a plea for help that carried his pain and pride. His herd hesitated, torn between fleeing and staying with their fallen leader. The matriarch lingered, her trunk outstretched toward him, her rumbles a mix of sorrow and encouragement. The poachers seized their chance, one raising a machete to finish the job, its blade catching the last rays of sunlight. The bull reared up one final time, his tusks slashing the air, but his strength failed him. He collapsed to his knees, the earth trembling beneath him. His breathing labored as blood pooled around his massive frame. The herd's trumpets faded into the distance as they were forced to retreat, leaving him alone with his attackers. The poachers circled their prize, their laughter a stark contrast to the bull's silent suffering. They prepared to sever his tusks, their tools clinking with a chilling rhythm. The bull's eyes dimmed, his head drooping as exhaustion and pain overwhelmed him. Yet even in his defeat a flicker of life remained, a stubborn will to survive that refused to fade. The savannah grew still, the gunfire's echo replaced by the rustle of grass and the distant calls of fleeing wildlife. The poachers' victory seemed assured, their greed sated by the bull's plight, but fate had other plans. Unbeknownst to them, the sound of the bull's trumpets had reached the ears of those who would fight for him, a rescue team racing toward the scene with hearts full of resolve. The night deepened, the stars emerging above the wounded bull, his massive form a silhouette against the dark horizon. The poachers worked quickly, unaware that their time was running out. The bull's breathing grew shallow, his body trembling with each breath, but his spirit held on, waiting for a miracle. The savannah, witness to this brutal act, seemed to mourn with him, the air heavy with the scent of blood and the promise of redemption. The stage was set for a race against time, a battle between cruelty and compassion that would soon unfold under the cover of darkness. Miles away, in a small outpost nestled among the acacia trees, the sharp crack of gunfire jolted the wildlife rescue team into action. The outpost, a humble collection of tents and a radio shack, buzzed with urgency as the sound carried over the airwaves. Leading the team was Dr. Elias Mwangi, a veterinarian in his 40s, with a weathered face and steady hands, his eyes reflecting years of saving animals from the brink. Beside him stood Amina, a ranger in her 30s, with a fierce determination, her khaki uniform stained from days in the field. The rest of the team, 2 young medics and a local tracker named Django, gathered around the radio, their faces tense as they listened to the fading trumpets of the injured bull. The call came from a nearby village, a frantic report of poachers attacking an elephant herd. Elias grabbed his medical kit, his mind racing through the supplies he'd need, sedatives, bandages, and tools to remove bullets. Amina barked orders, directing Django to prepare the jeep while the medics loaded water and food for the journey. The team knew the stakes. Every minute delayed increased the bull's chances of bleeding out or succumbing to shock. The radio crackled again, a villager's voice describing the bull's collapse, his words laced with fear and hope. Elias clenched his jaw, his resolve hardening. This was a fight they couldn't afford to lose. The jeep roared to life, its headlights cutting through the thickening darkness as the team sped toward the scene. The savannah was a maze of shadows, the acacia trees looming like silent guardians, but Django's keen eyes guided them, spotting the poachers' tracks in the soft earth. Amina scanned the horizon, her binoculars catching the faint glint of moonlight on something metallic, perhaps a rifle or a machete. The team's silence was heavy, each member lost in their thoughts, their hearts pounding with the urgency of the mission. The bull's life hung by a thread, and the poacher's presence meant danger, not just for him, but for the rescuers too. As they neared the site, the air grew thick with the scent of blood and gunpowder. Elias signaled for the jeep to stop, the team dismounting with practiced precision. Amina took point, her rifle ready, while Django scouted ahead, his movements silent as a shadow. The sound of the poachers' voices reached them, cold and callous, a stark contrast to the bull's labored breathing. Elias's heart sank as he spotted the bull's massive form slumped on the ground, his tusks still intact, but his body riddled with wounds. The poachers were close, their figures moving in the darkness, unaware of the approaching threat. The team devised a quick plan. Amina would create a diversion, firing warning shots to scatter the poachers, while Elias and the medics rushed to the bull's side. Django would cover their retreat, ensuring no one was left behind. The stakes were high, the poachers were armed and ruthless, and the bull's condition was deteriorating fast. Elias whispered a prayer under his breath, his hands trembling with anticipation as he prepared to save a life that had touched so many. The savannah held its breath, the night alive with the promise of a battle between good and evil. A rescue that would test the limits of human courage and compassion. The first shot rang out, Amina's signal piercing the night. The poachers froze, their heads turning toward the sound, giving the team their opening. Elias and the medics sprinted forward, their boots sinking into the blood-soaked earth, while Django took position behind a tree, his eyes sharp for any counterattack. The bull's eyes flickered open, meeting Elias's gaze, a spark of recognition amidst the pain. The rescue had begun, a race against time and cruelty, with the savannah as their witness, and the bull's survival their ultimate goal. Amina's shots echoed through the savannah, scattering the poachers into the darkness, their curses fading as they fled. Elias dropped to his knees beside the bull, his hands moving swiftly to assess the wounds. The bull's left flank bore a deep gash, blood oozing steadily, while a bullet had lodged in his shoulder, causing his massive body to tremble with each breath. The medics joined him, their faces set with determination as they unpacked the medical kit. Amina kept watch, her rifle trained on the shadows, while Django circled the perimeter, ensuring the poachers didn't regroup. The air was thick with tension, the bull's shallow breathing a ticking clock that spurred the team into action. Elias administered a sedative, his voice soft as he murmured reassurances to the bull, though he knew the elephant couldn't understand. The drug took effect quickly, calming the bull's tremors, allowing the team to work. One medic cleaned the gash, her hands steady despite the blood, while the other prepared to extract the bullet. The process was delicate. Any wrong move could worsen the injury or send the bull into shock. Elias guided the medic, his years of experience a lifeline in this chaotic moment. The bull's eyes, half closed, seemed to trust them, a silent bond forming between man and beast under the starlit sky. The bullet removal was agonizingly slow. The medic used forceps, her brow furrowed with concentration, while Elias monitored the bull's vital signs. The savannah was eerily quiet, the herd's distant trumpets a faint reminder of the family the bull had fought to protect. Suddenly, the forceps slipped, and the bull let out a weak groan, his body twitching. Amina rushed over, her face pale, but Elias waved her back, his focus unwavering. With a final, careful tug, the bullet came free, clattering to the ground, and the team exhaled in relief. They bandaged the wound, their hands slick with blood as the bull's breathing steadied. But the real challenge was moving the bull. His weight, even sedated, was immense, and the terrain was unforgiving. Django returned, reporting the poachers had retreated but might return. The team decided to use the jeep, rigging a makeshift harness with ropes and a tarp. They worked in unison, their exhaustion forgotten, as they slid the bull onto the tarp. The effort strained their muscles, sweat mixing with the blood on their hands, but the bull's survival fueled their resolve. Amina drove slowly, the jeep creaking under the load, while Elias and the medics walked beside, monitoring the bull's condition. As they neared the outpost, the bull stirred, the sedative wearing off. His eyes opened fully, locking onto Elias, and in that moment something extraordinary happened. The bull raised his trunk not in aggression, but in a gentle, trembling gesture, brushing against Elias's arm. Tears welled in Elias's eyes, the raw emotion of the bull's gratitude breaking through his professional demeanor. The medics stopped, their breaths catching, as the bull's trunk moved to Amina, then Django, a silent thank you that transcended language. The savannah seemed to hold its breath, the stars above witnessing a bond forged in the crucible of survival. The team reached the outpost, where a makeshift enclosure awaited. They guided the bull inside, his steps faltering but determined, his trunk still reaching out to them. The medics administered fluids and antibiotics, their hands gentle as they tended to him. The bull's reaction, his quiet, heartfelt gesture, had broken their hearts, not with sorrow but with a profound connection. Amina wiped her eyes, her voice trembling as she spoke of the bull's spirit. Elias nodded, his heart swelling with pride and pain. Knowing this rescue was more than a victory, it was a testament to the resilience of life. The night deepened, the bull resting under the team's care, his breathing growing stronger. The poachers were gone, their greed thwarted, but the bull's scars remained, a reminder of the battle he'd fought. The team sat together, their faces illuminated by the outpost's lantern, sharing the moment when the bull's reaction had united them. It was a story of courage and compassion, a tale that would linger long after the wounds healed, etched into the savannah's heart.